Cancel culture is one of the most polarizing and divisive topics of our modern day. Celebrities, classic films, and even beloved children's books have been given the cancel treatment in recent years, essentially pushing these cultural items and people into a dark realm where they're both hated and rebuked by a large segment of the population. The decision to cancel something or someone because of how they express an opinion or present a worldview that is now viewed as archaic, offensive, or simply not in line with contemporary ideas of political correctness seems to be an everyday occurrence at this point. That's not to say, however, that this response is the most mature or acceptable way to handle conflicting ideals. Cancel culture has been one of the biggest targets of ire from the political right. Conservatives in particular have likened the process of cancellation to modern-day book burnings and Orwellian censorship. But our purpose in doing this video isn't to endorse any specific side of the culture war. We do, however, want to draw attention to some pretty famous people out there, both conservative and liberal, that have recently spoken out against cancel culture. And who could be more famous than the head of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis? Join Trender as we take a look at what the Pope recently had to say about cancel culture and why he thinks it's detrimental to humanity. After hearing what the pontiff had to say, we'll also be covering several other celebrities and public figures from both sides of the political aisle who have spoken out against cancel culture in recent months. The Pope speaks. The Bishop of Rome, the Vicar of Christ. While the Pope is a man that goes by many different names and titles, he hardly ever minces his words. Pope Francis has just decried the growing trend of cancel culture in society by describing it as a form of ideological colonization. Addressing diplomats at Vatican City, the Pope said that, quote, the cultural roots that constitute the identity of many peoples, unquote, were in the process of being undermined by what he sees as a form of historical revisionism. The Pope further told the large crowd of ambassadors that cancel culture leaves little to no space for freedom of expression. He continued by calling this distinctly modern phenomenon as being invasive to many circles and public institutions. Francis delivered his speech in Italian, but he made reference to the English expression cancel culture throughout his discourse. In Italy, cancel culture is still a concept that is just in its infancy, and only now starting to take root in pop culture, which is in stark contrast to the United States and Great Britain, where cancel culture has been a part of the public conversation for several years now. One of the most significant things that the Pope said in his speech was that cancel culture, in the name of protecting diversity, ends up effectively canceling out people's sense of identity. He further reiterated his views on the subject by noting that history should always be interpreted by the standards of the time in which it occurred, not by the standards of today. While the Pope didn't point to any specific examples of cancel culture in action, he did make the assertion that the practice is leading to what he calls one-track thinking. Back in December, Francis compared the European Union to a dictatorship in the way that it has attempted to impose the woke rhetoric of the current era. Specifically, he was referring to an EU draft guide that set out to use inclusive language and advised lawmakers in Brussels to use the term human-induced instead of the less politically correct man-made. The draft also discouraged policymakers to make references to Christmas throughout the holiday season. The Pope called this admonition to avoid using Christian terms as amounting to a fad and watered-down secularism. He went on to say that these same tactics have historically been implemented, albeit ineffectively, by people like Napoleon, the Nazis, and the communists of the Soviet bloc. Not to get too off topic, but if you're enjoying this video so far, take a moment to show us some support by giving it a like and subscribing to our channel. Keep watching to learn what some other notable stars have to say about cancel culture and its effect on both the entertainment industry as well as society. Steve Harvey slammed cancel culture. Media personality Steve Harvey is vehemently opposed to cancel culture and political correctness in all of its forms. In a recent press tour event promoting his new daytime courtroom program, Judge Steve Harvey, which is slated to air on ABC, Harvey said that it would be practically impossible for him to participate in a comedy special these days, given the rise of cancel culture. He further expressed fear that political correctness would ultimately cost him not only his courtroom series but also his entire career. Harvey went on to explain that no stand-up comic today who is sponsored can say what they want to. He then listed several comedians that have historically been known to spout out non-PC opinions in their routines, such as Kevin Hart, Cedric the Entertainer, and Chris Rock, before expressing the opinion that the only comic that is still able to say what they want on stage is Dave Chappelle, since he's not reliant upon sponsorship but instead is subscription-driven. As you may recall, Chappelle's comedy routine recently came under fire for jokes that he made that were determined by some to be anti-trans in nature in his Netflix special The Closer. Netflix ended up standing by the comedian and didn't give his special the axe, even though there were plenty of people calling for just that. In fact, the streaming giant seems to have doubled down on their commitment to continue to back the comic, as he's expected to appear at Netflix's upcoming comedy festival, Netflix is a Joke, in a few months. Alec Baldwin has joined the anti-cancel culture club. Arguably, Baldwin probably should focus on his ongoing legal battle over his recent accidental fatal shooting of a crew member on the set of the film Rust, but even though he has much bigger things to worry about, Alec has still made time to speak out against cancel culture. Baldwin has asserted that cancel culture ends up creating more problems than it solves. He likened it to a form of trolling and compared the practice to being like a giant mile-long net that, while catching some people that deserve to be caught, also ensnares quite a few who don't. His biggest complaint about cancel culture is how it destroys the lives and careers of people who don't always deserve that kind of treatment. Ricky Gervais thinks cancel culture is censorship. Gervais affirms everyone's right to turn off their TVs if they don't like what someone has to say. His problem with cancel culture, however, is how people are actively trying to get people fired just because they don't like their opinions about something. He feels that everyone has the right to choose what they want to subscribe to. He draws a line, though, where people try to force their opinions and beliefs upon others. He further fears that society is getting dangerously close to a point where stars will have to go to court to defend telling a joke that someone found to be in poor taste. Jamil won't back down. When asked about what she thought about cancel culture by a group of Harvard students, the outspoken celebrity and former supporting cast member of the series The Good Place responded by saying that we as a society need to learn how to separate what's being canceled and what's simply being called out. She went on to call celebrities snowflakes. Demi Lovato has been canceled numerous times. After creating a secret Instagram account to bash Selena Gomez, Lovato received an invite, her very own #DemiIsOver party. When asked what she thought about the controversy, the singer told Jamil on her I Weigh podcast that she's been canceled so many times at this point that she can't even count. Lovato went on to express her opinion that cancel culture isn't even real, seeing as how many celebrities still have thriving careers despite having previously expressed unpopular opinions. Lovato also posed a pretty intriguing question when she asked, "Where is the forgiveness culture?" She followed that poignant question up by stating that cancel culture won't work unless people are also allowed some kind of mercy. Rowland thinks people should stop trying to play God. After witnessing many of her fellow stars get the cancel treatment, the former Destiny's Child posted on Instagram that she was grateful that she wasn't one of them. In that post, she expressed thanks that God has never canceled her, even though he could have many a times. She went on to say that we should all remember not to judge others, and that we don't have the authority or the space to do so in the first place. She wrapped up her eloquently written post by saying that we should all strive to lead with love and kindness, because the world already has enough negativity. Cardi B feels like she has a target on her back. If there is anyone that knows all about cancel culture, it's rapper Cardi B. She's been threatened with cancellation almost every day she's been in the spotlight. Cardi B has come under fire for her use of anti-Asian slurs, as well as for her admitted involvement in an attack that took place at a strip club. The rapper believes that cancel culture is a way for people to bully her. As such, she says that she isn't going to merely give in to that kind of social pressure. J.K. Rowling's transphobic comments. 2 years ago, the author of the popular Harry Potter series of books faced controversy after she made several comments about transgender issues. She argued that the concept of biological sex was being erased. In response to her comments, actor Daniel Radcliffe criticized her opinion, and the people of the internet followed suit. After the fallout that resulted from her simply expressing her opinions, she joined several other celebrities in an open letter that called for an end to cancel culture. Yes, we just managed to include both the Pope and Cardi B in a video covering the same topic. If that's not something to be proud of, then we don't know what is. Anyway, we're just about out of time for this video, but if you can think of any other celebs who have spoken out against cancel culture, let us know in the comments. And before you go, be sure to take a moment to show us a little support by giving this video a like and subscribing to Trender if you haven't already. While you're at it, tap the bell to turn on notifications. That way, you can keep up with all of our latest and upcoming videos as soon as they drop. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon with more videos covering popular culture, celebrities, and current events.